Pharma companies have historically had an issue of a poor reputation, a lack of trust. If we're partnering with new forms of companies, how can we be seen as a trusted partner going forward?
Trust isn't instant, it takes time to build. But you gain trust if you say you're going to do and do it. So it's actually delivering. We've said we'd be transparent. We've shared more data. So when people have said, I thought you were going to be transparent, and we say we are, and people can look and see our data. So I think it's delivering what you say you're going to deliver. We said we'd stop payments to healthcare providers to talk about products. We have stopped payment. It wasn't just we'd say it and we didn't do it. So I think it's matching what you're saying with what you're doing. And I think people are now starting to see that GSK is doing what it said it would.
What drove you to work in the industry in the first place, and what ambitions do you think you still have yet to achieve in your career?
So I remember, so my background is I'm a UK trained physician. I specialised in diabetes, and I was a diabetes consultant running the diabetes services in Newcastle in the UK. And I was very motivated, and still am, particularly around diabetes. I want a cure for diabetes. I want people to live healthily. I used to do a lot of camps with adolescents and diabetes, and it was very rewarding for me to see people, young people, live as normal life as they can with diabetes, showing they can do anything. And I still want people to have high quality of life. I was doing some research for GlaxoSmithKline, and I said, well, why aren't you doing this and that? And they said, well, rather than criticize us, why don't you come and join us and help us do the research? So it took me a while before I joined, and I thought, yes, well, if I want to make a difference, I should join and see if I can make a difference within the industry. And I'm glad to say I feel that I am contributing to making a difference for patients' lives by really thinking about what the medicines we develop are, how we develop them, and how we deliver them across the world. There's still a lot to do. GSK is making some strides in delivering medicines globally. I think there's still a lot to do. There's still many people in the world who don't have access to medicines that we need to change.
GSK obviously had a very public issue with trust in China and with payments to healthcare professionals. What's been the hardest thing about bringing the company back from such a low, both internally and externally?
So I think when people have don't trust you, it's really difficult to regain trust, and it takes effort and resilience. I know it's the right thing to do to not pay healthcare professionals. I know it's the right thing to do to share data. But when people don't trust you, they don't believe you. We need the strength to keep going to show that we are doing the right thing for the right reasons, and in the end, it will be the right thing to do. The challenge is waiting for people to gain the trust. I think we will get the trust back. The time is frustrating, but we'll get there.
One of the biggest challenges that the whole industry faces is to recruit patients to test and be involved in clinical trials. And recently, nothing to do with GSK, but we've had a setback in France, which has been very public news. Is there any smart ideas that you think you can provide in terms of how we can regain that trust with potential new medicines and being able to enroll patients satisfactorily on our trial programs?
So we don't know that much about the details of the trial in France. But clearly in GSK we've asked ourselves is, have we got the right measures in place to assure safety of healthy volunteers or any patients setting trials? One of my roles as Chief Medical Officer is to review any trials we start in man, and I take that responsibility very seriously. And we take time to understand how the drug works. We spend time looking at the animal data to always reduce the risk before we go into man, and we weigh up very heavily the balance between efficacy and safety before we take trials through. I think one thing that will help is better transparency about the data we're collecting. So already with the bio trial, people are saying, well, what was the protocol? Can you share the data? In GSK, we're sharing data. So when we finish our trials, we publish them. If there was a situation where there was a safety concern, we would release data. So I think the reassurance for patients and the community is by sharing data, help them they understand what the trial involves. And that means actually developing appropriate consent forms. So before someone signs, they understand both the risks but also potential benefits before they enter into the study.